Anger as Nadine Dorries' year-long silence in Parliament is deemed within the rules by the standard watchdog. We're going to read into this from Byline Times, guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an article here from Byline Times with the headline, Anger as Nadine Dorries' year-long silence in Parliament is deemed within the rules by the standard watchdog. Despite failing to speak in Parliament for over a year, Tory MP Nadine Dorries has made time for a luxury TalkTV job. So I believe that they're going to break down the reasons why she's okay to be in the position where she's in, which is wrong in every sense of the word, but if the law states that she can't be pushed out, that's a different matter. I will say though that she really does need to go. The fact that she hasn't been in Parliament for over a year, her constituents have been abandoned, and it's an absolute travesty. And she has said some horrible things as well as an MP, I think, as well. That also needs to be added as well with regards to that. So Nadine Dorries has not breached the MPs Code of Conduct by failing to speak in Parliament for over a year. A Parliamentary Standard Commissioner had ruled. The campaign group Unlock Democracy had complained that the Tory MP for Mid Bedfordshire, who hasn't spoken to Commons since last July, was undermining Parliament. It is not thought to have held a regular constituency survey in several years, but it is not clear if she still has a constituency office. The Boris Johnson loyalist pledged to resign with immediate effect 2 months ago, but has yet to do so, instead claiming she is staying to mount her own investigation into why she didn't get a peerage. She has found the time to present a show on Murdoch-owned TalkTV, however. Last month, a town council in her seat called for her to quit, and her constituents had proper representation in Parliament. She had voted just 10 times in the Commons since last July, while her last spoken contribution was in a debate on full fibre broadband over a year ago. Unlock Democracy's complaint was based on a rule that members shall never undertake any action which will cause significant damage to the reputation and the integrity of the House of Commons as a whole or its members generally. But the Standard Commissioner ruled that there is no specific service standard or exact job description of a minimum number of hours attended required by the House. That needs to change. They need to be at least at some point in the House. The fact that they cannot need to attend, not need to vote, or basically kind of just sit on their laurels as an MP, it is absolutely pathetic, and that needs to change. I mean, obviously we are aware the Houses of Parliament needs reform. We know the system is not good enough, and it's nowhere near the standards that people expect. But we do need some kind of reforms. I would hope that Labour would introduce some kind of reforms, guys. I would hope at least. But I'm not holding out much faith in Labour, considering the amount of U-turns that they've been doing. Especially the last several months, it's hard for me to kind of say that Labour are going to do the same. Daniel Greenberg's CB office said for each individual's MP to decide for themselves how they undertake a role of an MP, and the Commissioner could not investigate an MP based on their level or lack of attendance. This is also like, imagine you have a child, right? And that child was not attending school, right? They're supposed to be coming to this school and supposed to be doing lessons, yeah? And what would normally happen, obviously, is that if they failed to attend school, eventually the parents, the family would get fined, wouldn't they? They'd have a fine sent to them. Letters, phone calls, emails, whatever, would be sent to them saying you need to come back to school. And they would eventually get a fine. Something like that. This is basically the same thing. This is Nadine Dorries failing to come to school, and basically she can get away with it. You know, it's like a child staying at home instead of going to school. The child is choosing to stay at home. But the difference is obviously is that the child can get away with it. No one's doing anything about it. You know, the teachers here are kicking us. The teachers, the analogy I'm using, teachers and that, they're saying like, you're on our list and you're not coming to school, and they can't do anything about it. This is exactly the same thing. We have an MP here who's supposed to be serving her constituents, and she's not doing anything about it. Same analogy. It's ridiculous, and it needs to be addressed. The Standards Watchdog said that for the Commissioner to initiate an investigation into the ruling on undermining the reputation of the Commons, he would need to be satisfied that a member's action has caused significant damage to any such damage that needs to impact more widely on the reputation and integrity of the member involved. As I'm sure you can appreciate, this is an extremely high bar. The Committee on Standards has been clear it would expect a breach to occur only in extreme and extremely limited circumstances. Well, they obviously need to change the circumstances. Conduct which might be considered to reflect badly on an MP's concern is not in itself a basis of the Commissioner to begin an inquiry into an allegation of breach of paragraph 11 the Standard Commissioner noted. Therefore, for the reasons detailed above, the Commissioner will not be opening a formal investigation into the matters that you have raised. Unlocked Democracy responded in an email to supporters, while we're disappointed, we're not surprised. The Commissioner is there to enforce the rules as they stand, and the rules are completely inadequate. If an MP rarely bothers to turn up for work, that's fine, apparently, because as the Commissioner points out here, there is no exact job description for the MP. We think this needs to change. I agree, and I'm sure most of you in the comments section would agree with that statement too. Former Lib Dem MP Tom Brakes, the UD's director, added, the real issue here is the outdated rules of Parliament. The roles of an MP is a challenging one. I know from personal experience the vast majority of MPs work extremely hard for their constituents. But in recent years we've seen more MPs like Nadine Dorries take advantage of the outdated rules. I can't think of any other job where there is no specific service standard or job description or minimum hours of attendance required. It really is one rule for MPs and another for the rest of us. Unlocked Democracy is calling for the MPs Code of Conduct to be changed, adding a requirement to turn up at Parliament on a regular basis seems to be bare minimum. Yep. Thousands have responded to the group survey on how the rules of MPs should be reformed. Byline Times author own Twitter post in the issue received nearly 1,000 replies, nearly all calling for an overhaul of parliamentary standards and for the Dorries to step down. Some of the comments include Byline Times supporter and the troll host Marina Perkins saying that the MP's Code of Conduct isn't fit for purpose. Journalist Ben Stokes added, in what other job could you simply not turn up for work for a year and to be found within the Code of Conduct? Teresa Crawford said, so we are concluded that MPs do not need to bother turning up to Parliament in over a year, and that MPs can host TV shows instead, and that MPs don't need to bother with constituents. If so, what are MPs' duties? And Brian Hunter joked that the ruling meant the Standard Commissioner determined that she does more harm than good when attending Parliament, and have concluded her behaviour was in the public interest. Yeah, Nadine Dorries was contacted for comment. I'm just going to read a bit this, guys. So this is the letter from the Standard Commissioner to Tom Brake here. So, Mr. Brake, thank you again for your letter dated 2nd of August 2023. The Commissioner has asked, and I shall share the following reply with you. You will know that the Parliamentary Commission for Standards is appointed to investigate allegations of breaches of the Code of Conduct for members. The role and power of the Commissioners are set out in Standard Order number 150. He can only consider opening an investigation into alleged breach of the rules of conduct when he receives allegations that are supported by evidence. In your letter, you have alleged that Ms. Dorries has breached Rule D12 and D11 of the Code of Conduct. Paragraph 2 of the Code states that members must base their conduct on a consideration of the public interest, avoid conflict between personal interest and the public interest, and resolve any conflict between the two at once in favour of the public interest. As you will be aware, there is no specific service standard or exact job description for MPs or a minimum number of hours attendance required by the House. It is for each individual MP to decide for themselves how they undertake the role of an MP, and the Commissioner could not investigate an MP based on their level of or lack of attendance. With regards to the allegations that the member had breached paragraph 11 of the Code, which states that members shall never undertake any action which should cause significant damage for the reputation and integrity of the House of Commons as a whole, or of its members generally, for the Commissioner to initiate an investigation into this rule, He would need to be satisfied that a member's action has caused significant damage, and any such damage would need to impact more widely than on the reputation and integrity of the member involved. As I'm sure you can appreciate, this is an extremely high bar, and the Commission on Standards has been clear that we'd expect a breach to occur only in extreme and extremely limited circumstances. Conduct which might have been considered to reflect badly on MPs concerned is not, in itself, a basis of the Commissioner to begin an inquiry into an allegation of a breach of paragraph 11. Therefore, for the reasons detailed above, the Commissioner will not be opening a formal investigation into the matters that you have raised. However, I should also explain that the Commissioner's responsibilities are wider than investigating complaints, and he takes careful note of concerns raised by members of the public relating to parliamentary standards. These concerns feed into the Commissioner's wider remit of the following ways. The Commissioner monitors parliamentary standards and gives advice in different forms to members individually and collectively, designed to enhance implementation of the performance of MPs' functions of the 7 principles of public life that underpin the Code of Conduct: openness, accountability, honesty, integrity, objectively, selflessness and leadership. In particular, from time to time, the Commissioners advise members on standards of openness and accountability, as well as other matters related to MPs' interactions with their constituents and the public. For example, you will see some advice notes that the Commissioner has issued on these topics at the PSC Advice Notes, UK Parliament. The Commissioner reports on his work to the House of Commons each year, and he will use these reports to draw attention on matters of concern to the public which, for one reason or another, will have not given rise to individual investigation. The Commissioner is very grateful for you taking your trouble to write, and we will be taking careful account of the contents of your letter in the course of the activities described above. That's the problem. The problem is not the rules, guys. The problem is the rules, and the problem is that they can get away with it. Basically, there's nothing stopping them. And as I've described the analogy of the child in the school, it is the same thing as you saw that as another analogy. You go so that you going to work, you decide, no, I'm not going to turn up to work today. And what would normally happen? You get docked pay. You'd lose pay. You would get like a written warning or something like that. No, Nadine doesn't get anything. Still getting her pay. Not needing to serve her constituents. Can still host a TV show as well. And that's it. Pretty despicable. Fair to say, guys. That's pretty much how it is. And I don't really know what more to add to that, guys, except, Nadine, unfortunately, can do what she wants in this position because the rules are in her favour, and until she breaks those rules, can't really do anything, can we? Or do you guys have some suggestions? Maybe let me know down in the comments below. What else could be done? Could unlock democracy? My apologies. Could unlock democracy. What more can they do, or Byline Times, or anybody else could do, in order to ensure some kind of justice is brought to the people's constituents under Nadine Dorries? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe as always. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will catch you all very, very soon.